Welcome back to ADHD Whiskey. I'm Coach Matt, and today I'm going to be reacting to the latest Bourbon Junkies Poor Guesses episode. Then I will be critiquing their tasting skills and coaching them up on how they can become the best taster they can be, leading into this 2022 Advent calendar. Who do I think will win? Stick around to the end for my prediction. But before you get my reaction about the video, it's time to get your reaction about this beautiful watch from Original Grain. Look at that bad boy. What you're looking at there is made out of reclaimed American bourbon barrels. I know what time it is at all times of the day because I just can't stop looking at it. Just watching the time tick away. And speaking of time ticking away, you're running out of time. Original Grain is running their Black Friday sale right now. 20% off of everything. And if you use my code ADHD at checkout, after clicking on my link in the description below, you'll save an additional 10%. That's 30% off, but you gotta hurry. Because the holidays, they're gonna be gone before you know it. If you wanna get your hands on one of these sweet watches, or if you wanna pick one up for the whiskey lover in your life, then don't hesitate any longer. Do not wait. Go to originalgrain.com/ADHD or click on my link in the description below. Use code ADHD at checkout and you'll save 30% off of any reclaimed watch you'll find on their website, which is all of them, because they're all made of reclaimed materials. Thank you, Original Grain, for sponsoring this video, and thank you to everyone out there who clicks on these links and supports those who work with the channel. Now that we've talked about Original Grain, it's time to get into today's video. We're going to react to the Bourbon Junkies' latest Poor Guesses video. We're going to critique their tasting styles. I'm going to coach them up a bit, and if they watch this, then maybe they'll get off to a great start in the 2022 Advent calendar. If they don't watch it, then they won't benefit at all. Let's get into this video.
Welcome back. We're the Bourbon Junkies. There's another episode of...
I can't wait for you.
Oh, yes!
That will be...
Wow.
So I really like the constellations. I think I'm feeling the full moon vibes here.
Me too.
This is the finale, Daniel. This is the last Poor Guesses
Ever!
till the new year.
Ever!
The yelling is what some people would consider to be, I don't know, maybe annoying. I'm not that person. Matter of fact, I'm a whispering type. People get upset with me because my lack of volume. But I'm not upset with a little bit of shouting from the rooftops. Rooftops? So far so good.
Ever! Love that
good. It's
this
all
is
good.
over. I hate this thing.
Until the new year.
Ever!
Because after the end of November, we go into Advent, which is a 1 month entire, basically, Poor Guesses.
Straight domination. Literally been training my whole life for it.
So, where we're at right now, finale, Dan's up 1 point, 2 to 3 points. Not a good showing for us.
No, it's been a pretty good showing for me.
Honestly, to be fair, they shouldn't be laughing about it. They've had all month, right? And their scoring system, nobody knows what it is, or nobody knows what it means. But 3-2, 3 points to 2, seems like someone should probably be fired over there, especially the person with 2. Just saying.
It really has. Unfortunately...
You didn't go negative this month, so...
I went negative last month and 1, so that's pretty good, in theory.
You beat me by like 1 point.
Doesn't matter. I was down at... Buddy, I was below 0 at one point.
I think it was -1 to 0 the first week.
-1. We both shit the bed.
Yeah.
I shit it hard, though.
If you shit the bed, always admit to it. Because if you don't admit to it, eventually you're going to be found out because there's going to be shit in your bed. And if you don't tell the person in charge of taking care of that bed with the shit, then they're going to be extra mad when you go to get back in that bed. And then you're upset because they're shitting it when it was your shit and you didn't tell the person whose job it was to take care of the shit that there was shit in it earlier. Because now it's late and the shit has been sitting. So, good job, Dan.
'Tis the season to be jolly. If I lose this game, we'll never play it again. All right.
Sorry.
3 minutes on the clock. You can hear me push it, right? Shing!
First of all, I'm happy to see that he's sitting down tasting. Dan and Sean shoot a lot of videos standing up, tasting their whiskey, and I'm a huge believer. You should always be sitting down, smelling and tasting whiskey. If you're standing up, you're asking your body to do like more work. Like for Dan, for example, Dan, he's asking his body to hold up what some people would consider to be a large man. If you're sitting down, you don't have to do that. Your body can focus on smelling and tasting what's in the glass. So always sit down when you're tasting and reviewing whiskey. Gotta stop it again. Immediately have to stop it again. What I'm impressed with here is the shape of the trapezius. The trapezius on Mr. Shook here, going into the shoulder, the front the deltoid there, going back into the trapezius. Although it's not bulging, it does show that this man has been doing what some kinesiologists would consider to be enough activity and enough resistance training that his muscles are indeed being broken down and then repaired. It appears from what I'm looking at anyway that between this year and maybe like 2018, Mr. Shook has probably piled on roughly 8 to 10 pounds of pure contractile tissue, lean body mass, almost super physiological amounts of muscle density, in the rotating motor of his body.
Dan's big
Just
man.
wanted to point
I don't know
that
why.
out.
He said, I'm going to lose this month, and I'm going to fucking lose it, so...
Sean needs to work on the F word, because as soon as he sits down, right out of his mouth. Second thing, I do like the SJ, the immediate SJ. What I like also what Sean's doing here is the clear glass. The clear glass, very smart. Shook is carrying the Golden Glen, which I understand is what their rules are. Like the winner has to have the Golden Glen. Always choose a transparent glass. If you don't have the abilities to make a glass transparent because your hand washing skills suck, then a translucent glass, far better than an opaque glass. Just throwing that out there.
Here we go.
Please, to the gods of whiskey.
Why is he looking at it like that? Why is he looking at the glass like he can see the whiskey in the glass? He's literally looking at it. So he's using his eye power. He's using too much power of his body. He's trying to see through the painted glass to the whiskey. Just look at his face right now. If we look at his face, we can zoom. Bring it in. Here. Bring it in there. So he's looking at it. He's looking at it like he can see the whiskey, but he can't. So he's using an unnecessary amount of energy while he doesn't even need to use any energy yet. I do like the swirl job. The SJ, good form, very nice. But the extra effort he's taking and trying to peer through a painted surface is disturbing, because it just can't happen. Let's take it back 10 seconds and really watch it again. Let's watch this extremely ignorant use of energy.
Please, to the gods of whiskey, let me win this month. Oh, that's not a good. That wasn't exactly what I was looking for on the nose, because I have no idea what that is.
Dan, you got headphones on? Must have headphones on. It smells like scotch. I think that's the scotch malt bottle.
I'm really liking the way Sean went about this. See, Dan immediately smelled it and then said, I have no idea what this is. When I hear that, what I'm thinking is Dan's trying to figure out what actually it is in the glass, like trying to guess a label immediately, which is asinine. You can't just smell something and go, oh, I know what that is. You have to smell something and say, is this familiar? That's the first question you ask yourself. Is this familiar? If the answer to that is yes, then you can start going down path A. If the answer to that is no, then you better head down path B, which of course you don't want to go down, which is kind of like the dirt road if you're a dude and it's your dirt road. Sean right away smells it and then doesn't go to what he thinks the product is, but actually what type of whiskey. Always try to figure out the type of whiskey right away before you start diving into what you think the glass is. That's just a little bit of a pointer, a little bit of a pointeroo.
That we both talked about 2 videos ago.
It smells good, but crafty, or Oh, that's got to be a rye, right?
I don't even have my sheet up right now because I'm trying to think of...
You have 3 minutes. Always have your sheet prepared. I also like the way that Dan went crafty, but then immediately reset himself to ask himself what type of whiskey he was smelling. Because you can't just like wonder if it's from a major distillery or a craft distillery right away. You really got to figure out what is in the glass. What is in the glass, man?
My mind on that. I'm literally doing math just so I can try to headshot this proof as good as possible.
We got to calm and center ourselves
Smart.
to win. Let's figure out the proof. If we get the proof and Sean doesn't get a bottle guess, we win. All we need is proof here. I don't believe it's finished.
You got to use your 3 minutes appropriately, if you understand what I mean. Like in some situations, I'm only given 3 minutes to do a task. And by that, I mean I only have 3 minutes in my tank. So when I'm using those 3 minutes, I need to use them wisely. Like, what do I want to do? What approach do I want to take? You know what I mean? Like, am I going to try something crazy here? Am I just going to do like a Hail Mary, like maybe this will work today? Or do I just play it extra safe and easy and have like, a real satisfying 3 minutes? I don't just sit there and talk to the camera. There's a job to be done. And we all know what it is. And Shook is just sitting there talking to the camera about his game plan while his planning time is being dwindled away. Interesting approach.
When I looked at that bottle, as I spill it all over myself, if it's finished or not.
I do like the way that Sean is continuing the SJ. A continuous SJ is going to make sure that the glass is always prepared. It's always there at a moment's notice. If you want to nose it or taste it, it's always prepared. Always keep it going with a nice, steady SJ. Dan, on the other hand, seems to have abandoned the SJ altogether and is just wondering if it's going to be finished or not. And spoiler alert, it might be finished before you know it, because it's only 3 minutes and you're about to blow it.
Cookie, get on up here. Show the people what they want.
Couple of pussies drinking alcohol together. Am I wrong? Am I right? Sorry.
Cookie gives me what I need to win. Oh, Daniel!
Have you guys ever heard of Build-A-Bear? We built the Blind Barrels box.
Wow, why don't you tell them what that is first, Dan?
So, we've worked with Blind Barrels in the past.
I'm sick and tired of these whiskey channels having ad placements constantly. Like, go back to your roots when you actually cared about making whiskey videos and not having to worry about making money and supporting your family and feeding your children and making sure your cat has litter. You know what I mean? Like, annoying. So annoying. Originalgrain.com/ADHD. Code ADHD. Save 30%. Just saying. Blind barrels, huh? Okay, that's all I need to see. That's all we need to see for this video. So, Coach Matt here. Coach Matt, after reviewing the film, after reviewing the footage, get this out of my ear. Can't even hear myself think. Coach Matt, after reviewing the footage, this is what I have to say. First of all, they're in a brand new castle. It's a new tasting environment, a new nosing environment, which is a bit weird. Sometimes, in order to actually understand what you're doing when you're nosing and tasting stuff, you have to be somewhere comfortable. You have to be somewhere extra comfortable. What's going to happen with Advent is they're going to decorate that new place so that new place is going to feel even newer. What I suggest is that they need to come into this maybe with a bit of a routine. Maybe it's good luck tasting socks. Maybe it's like a special hat. Or like maybe they use the same Q-tip in their ear every morning. Whatever it is, they need a bit of a routine, something that gets them comfortable when it comes to tasting and nosing whiskey. Second thing, I feel like going into this, I feel like after reviewing the film, Sean was a bit more comfortable with the glass in his hand, which is a bit weird considering the Savant, we all know, is very comfortable holding and drinking out of multiple bottles of whiskey at the same time. Something tells me, though, that Shook is a bit shook, which I don't feel very comfortable with going into Advent, because when he's nosing a glass, he's immediately trying to guess a brand. He's immediately trying to think, oh, is it this product? Sean, on the other hand, is coming into it and he's nosing it and he's going through a process. If you don't have a process, you need a process. You can't just go into a glass and immediately start wondering random things. You have to go in an order. And what some people would call a porter order. Does that porter order have to go in the same order every time? Absolutely. But is it a set order that porter tells you that the order has to be in? No, not at all. But whatever your porter order is, that's what the porter order stays. And if that doesn't make sense, then I would suggest this. Rewind it and listen to it again, because it made perfect sense. And if you didn't understand it, it's your fault, not mine. If you know what I mean. Sean seems to have a porter order nailed down. He's like, what type of whiskey is it? Let's go into the proof. Is it finished? Shook, on the other hand, is like, I don't know what this is. This could be a High West. Did I pay my car insurance this month? And something seems to be bothering Dan. Something seems to be in his head a little bit. I'm not sure what it is. It could be anything. He may not have gotten his sexy time last night, which would explain a couple things, like Ricky's obsession with constellations and how Dan didn't get his Milky Way. He didn't get to take off his Orion's belt. But whatever it is, Dan seems to be a little bit flustered, a little bit scatterbrained, and not necessarily on task. Sean, on the other hand, never seems on task. Sean always seems like he could rather be anywhere else on the planet, Janet. But in the latest episode of Poor Guesses, Sean seemed to go in a correct porter order, decided some things that may not have been correct, but he did seem to possess the ability to restrain himself and refrain himself from being a giant dum-dum like he normally is. Going into Advent 2022, who do I think is going to win, Dan or Sean? This is difficult. Will Sean stick to the porter order and be able to maintain his abilities of actually trying to muster up good guesses in a relatively smart way? Or will he just not care anymore? This is what I think is going to happen. Shook is going to watch this video. He's going to get extra comfortable in his castle. He's going to get himself into his lucky underpants. He's going to go into the castle. He's going to warm up his whiskey beforehand, because that's very important. It's going to be cold in the castle. If I were them, I would make sure that whiskey is warm, because a warmer whiskey is a better whiskey when it comes to tasting anyway. Have that whiskey pre-warmed and have your porter order set. I believe if Dan can do that, if he can push aside whatever is bothering him, whatever Tom Brady situation is bothering him, if he can set that aside, then he could be the true athlete we know he is. He could Randy Moss this thing and catch himself a win in the 2022 Advent calendar. Do I believe it'll happen? I think so. I think Mr. Shook will regather his bearings, and he should be able to pull off the 2022 Advent. If I'm wrong, then possibly, quite possibly, Sean might be dabbling in performance-enhancing drugs. Does Sean appear to be natural right now? Absolutely. There's nothing about Sean that screams not natty, except for his age of 700 years old, which of course, he probably is on some shit for that. That's going to do it for this video. 2022 Advent is happening soon. I'm going to be doing one on my channel. They'll be doing one on theirs. It's going to be a ton of fun this December. Let me know in the comments below. Do you like this type of video? Should I do more of these, less of these? Should I never touch the subject ever again? Was my vision of what was happening in the castle spot on or way off? What do you think? What do you think?